Forgiving is to let go of a prisoner, only to find that you were the prisoner.
Pain and joy, I've had it all, had it all. Can I tell you my story? Oh, this is
So, Dr. Makoni, from bitter to better through forgiveness. You know what? When I read your book, and first of all, I would like to say this is my first book review. I'm very excited for the EN show. So welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm very well, and thank you for honoring me.
Awesome.
First book.
Thank you. But you know what? The topic is such a heavy topic. So when I saw your message and you were telling me that you were launching this book, I said, you know what? For me, in my head, I thought it was really about grief in terms of people who are passing on, or But when I saw it, with the first page, first of all, the first page is quite. It took me back. And I'm going to share, just to give people a bit of context around the first page. So she is livid, confused, and at times depressed, and feels she can never forgive him. As they agreed as a couple, she went back to work in the diaspora, sending back home money for fees, purchase of a stand, and building their family home. When she finally returned home, her husband had taken in the maid as a wife and had completed the house, registering the deeds in his name alone. Okay, that just made me die. And then I thought, okay, maybe it'll get better at the end. But no, you had to go. You really had to go into it. And then I read the second portion of it. 10 years earlier, they were young teenagers who had joined the rebel forces that operated in his home area. One day, they raped his daughter and wife before killing them in cold blood as he watched helplessly. Now the war is over and they have responded to the message of Christ. He is their pastor who teaches forgiveness, but how can he ever forgive people who took away his family? Dr. Makoni, tell me, what is this book about?
It's about owning our pain and to live beyond that pain through forgiveness.
Okay.
Releasing yourself from holding on to those things that have hurt us, and to be free even to love those who hurt us.
That's a tough call.
Really.
That's a tough call.
It
And
is.
for me, my question is, what motivated you, number one, to write the book? I know that you do counseling. You do a lot in terms of therapy and as a part of your profession. You've listened to people, counseled them. What made you write this book in the first place?
Well, it's going to 10 years now. I've been doing counseling, and most of my cases are marital situations.
Okay.
A couple of issues come through as individuals, but there's always family involved. And the question that continues to come is, people know what I want to forgive, but we don't know how. So this is not a book on forgiveness as a typical book where you read about forgiveness. In fact, as I was preparing these tools, I went through 8 books on forgiveness. You'll find many, many more books on forgiveness. But in those books, then you find hidden, not in a structured manner, the tools to walk through. How do I get to a place where I'll say, now I want to forgive?
Right.
And the tough question still remains to be answered, which I hope soon will answer. Now that I've forgiven, how do I live my life? So this is a workbook, in essence.
Mm-hmm.
I've been hurt. Number one, it allows you to own your pain. If you listen carefully, people say, you hurt me. We don't get to say, I am hurting. Mm-hmm. So this is a pathway to say, I acknowledge I am hurting. Because at that point, when you take ownership of your emotions, of your pain, then you are able to do something about it. When we say so and so hurt me, my husband hurt me, my wife hurt me, my child hurt me, my mother hurt me, the neighbor hurt me. You are leaving the power to heal, to recover from the person who hurt you.
But don't you think instinctively, when we are hurt, because I've been hurt, and if I look back on the moments where I was deeply, deeply hurt, it's hard to get yourself out of that, to start saying, I'm owning my hurt and I don't want it to consume me anymore. Example, one of the shows that we did prior in season 1, there's a lady who contacted me and said, my husband left me. He left me with my kids. I don't have any support. And I cannot get over the fact that my husband has left me. Very similar to the example that you have, given for the diaspora woman. There's a lot of investment that people put into relationships. And I think one thing that I found about forgiveness is that it's really relationship based.
Yes.
And you've invested a lot in the relationship. But what you're asking from forgiveness, I think, is probably easier said than done.
Sure.
And I think at some stage in the conversation, I would want you to walk us through how someone can physically do that. But isn't it exhausting for someone to be angry? And what words of advice, just before we go on to our break, what words of advice would you give to someone who is consumed by anger at this stage?
This is the benefit of forgiving. Someone says forgiving is to let go of a prisoner only to find that you were the prisoner. So the anger is consuming you because you are seeking to revenge. That's the bottom line. So you are busy plotting, you're busy contemplating, you're busy griping over how could they let me? So what do you do with the pain?
Yes.
The pain is consuming. The anger feeds that pain. So forgiveness comes and kind of expunges that pain, that anger, and you begin to work at how can I live my life beyond this pain? And it's me who has to do that.
Doctor, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, I want us to talk about the fact of us getting to that point where I can separate the two, feeling the anger, owning it, and then letting go.
Sure.
This is EN. We'll be right back. Welcome back to EN, and today I'm with Dr. Leonard Makoni. Doc, I'm not going to call you Leonard. I was raised better than that. As much as I'd like to say Leonard, no, we're going to call you Doc and give you Chinjimbo Chenyu. So we were talking about the fact that, there are different stages and that there's actually a relief when someone gives up the anger, someone lets it go, because you were saying that that's when you find that you are actually the prisoner. But what are the stages that someone needs to go through, Doc, realistically? Because I know that, it's a burden. It's heavy to carry anger in you as an individual. But like the example that you used about this, these guys who killed this pastor's wife and child, only to be, a part of the same church, and years later, and then the pastor having to,
love them.
Doc, are we being realistic?
Well,
you've killed my wife. You've killed my child.
Yes.
And you want me to forgive.
Let me say this because it's important. I don't know how it works for people who don't base their life on God.
Yes.
This is Christmas season, and the essence of it is forgiveness. It's God acting out what he seems determined to do and forgiving these people, and I'll live with them. Now, put yourself in his place. All the way from the garden. I told you guys, don't do this. They've done it. They ran away. He comes looking for them. Not only once, generations. Israel, come to me. My people come to me. And they refuse until he comes. Okay, I will die for you. So to forgive someone is literally to die in yourself. Something about what you want dies. I want revenge. I want fairness. Dies. At that point, you are able to live beyond the pain.
Right.
You relieve yourself of that pain. Now, it's a process. That's one of the challenges we have. A lot of us have since thought that to forgive is to come and say, I am sorry. That's just a step towards. The journey goes on. You still have the memories of walking into your bedroom and you find your spouse with Jolo, partner. Those are visions you will have. You still see the other kid laughing at you in the sports field, the teacher who mocks you, the parent who shouts at you. So we need to know that the first step is the decision, which is part of acknowledging I am hurting. I want to heal. Once you have done that, then the journey to actually come to a place where you're saying, I am forgiving, first involves you dealing with yourself. In most instances, when we are hurt, when we are violated, the way we work with that violation leaves us also perpetrators.
Okay.
It matters not what has been done to you. What do you think about the person who hurt you? What has been the attitude towards the person who hurt you? What have you done with the person who hurt you? So we go through a process of making sure that I have not hurt somebody myself. I may also need to ask for forgiveness.
In the process of you being hurt, you can actually become a perpetrator. You can actually hurt other people.
Other people. As they say, hurt people, that's part of it.
Yes. And that was my question, to say, people who are around us, what is the impact of someone who is hurt? It's almost like a bruised animal that's wreaking havoc.
All over.
All over.
Yeah. You imagine most family settings.
Right.
Where violence was the mode of control. Let me use that word. If you don't work through it, it comes out naturally. You were shouted at, you shouted. You were forced, you were forced. You are really dealing with your own hurt, which you never processed. Now it's coming to second, third generation. So forgiveness is that place where we stop that cycle, because I'm owning my pain and I'm processing it. I hurt other people, so I seek forgiveness from other people, and from where I stand, also forgiveness from God. Once I know my heart is in a good place, then I can come to a person. And again, this is important. You forgive not because the perpetrator, your violator, has asked for forgiveness.
Right.
Has apologized. No, it's not about them. It's about you. So even if they don't come back to say, I am sorry, I hurt you, which at times they'll never say because they're not working from that perspective. Some people don't see that they are hurting people. So you are choosing, regardless of what they do, you are choosing, I am here because I've been hurting, I am angry, I am consumed with wanting to revenge. If you know you have hurt that person who hurt you, the perpetrator, you even say, I am sorry, forgive me for hurting you this way, but also I offer you forgiveness. And those words need to be said. I am forgiving you. Now, a lot of people then think, if I forgive, it means I let them go. No. This is where now the process begins.
It's not a sign of weakness.
Not
it's
at all.
actually a sign of strength.
You're very strong. You are very strong to be able to face somebody who has hurt you and you say, right in the face, I let you go. You are giving them what they can never ask for, what they can never receive, that freedom to know that I've been let go of this. I deserved punishment. I deserved banishment as well, but I'm being embraced.
I think, looking back on I'm trying to see it from a very personal perspective. Looking back at the times where I felt so violated or angry or deeply, deeply hurt, it's a weight off my shoulders when I've been able to let go of that. But it's because I have said I'm choosing me.
I'm choosing. It's a choice.
I'm choosing me. over the anger. I'm choosing me over the hurt. I'm choosing me over this individual that consumes my mind and that has taken over my life and my decisions
That's
that I
the
make.
attitude of forgiveness.
And
I am more important than the pain.
And I think that's where people struggle. But when we come back, Doc, what we want to talk about really is how can we help people go through the process in their homes for everyone who is watching. What is it that they need to do and where do they start? And how can we support as a community those who are actually going through hurt?
Absolutely.
It could be a funeral, it could be a loss, it could be whatever it is. But we're going to take a break and we'll come back and tackle that issue. This is EN. We're talking to Dr. Leonard Makoni, and we are talking about forgiveness. So we'll see you soon. Welcome back to EN, and we are with Dr. Makoni, and we're talking about his book, From Bitter to Better Through Forgiveness. Dr. Makoni, we were talking about just the elements that we can advise people and support people with just the key steps that they need to take. If someone who is watching is going through a period where they are really feeling anger and it's becoming a load and they want to let go, where do they start?
So, as I said earlier, the first point is to acknowledge and own your pain.
Right.
To realize that the anger is going to consume you. Somebody said anger is like an acid and it corrodes the container. So, to understand that, imagine somebody hurt you, you are having sleepless nights. What's happening with the person who hurt you? Jabula. So, you need to release yourself. So, how do you do that? The ownership of your pain allows you then to sit down, literally list down the names of the people you believe hurt you from as far back as you can remember. Because what happens in life is we accrue all these hurts and pains and losses.
We carry them over.
Carry them over.
Okay.
And I typically say it's almost like laying landmines in our life. Easy to lay. You walk into our Nanika Lane right now without a guide. If you come back, it might be without a limb or you might be in a body bag. But they will explode. Emotions cannot be hidden forever. They will remain alive. So once you know so-and-so hurt me this way, so-and-so hurt me this way, there's usually a theme that comes out of that. Once you've laid all these names, 10 people, even the dead, put them down. They are dead people who hurt us. Put them down. Then try to pick up the theme and you begin to realize that there's a typical way in which most people hurt us. Violation of rights, neglecting us. It could be sexual abuse, whatever it is, you write it down. You want a simple way, a root of the pain, because the anger then shows all kinds of fruits and branches, but you want the deepest point of pain. That's the one person we want to deal with first.
But do you think everyone can do that, though? I hear you, but I'm now thinking of the practicality of that.
It's a guided process.
It's a guided process, right?
That's why that book is there. It can guide you, or the book and the counselor can help you to walk through that process, because you need somebody who may prompt you, who may help you to dig deeper back, because at times we hide the pain, we repress, and the mind has got a capacity to hide pain, and you might never get back to it.
So you're talking about counseling, doctor. So when I think of counseling, not everyone believes in counseling. Do we, from a cultural point of view, tatina na tete kudara, tatina na sekuru wedu, and those were our counselors. But now we've got Google. So where am I going to get counseling in this day and age?
You need
informal counseling.
A professional counselor, a person who has been trained to help you, a person who is objective about the process. So the tetes, the sekurus, they are important. The friends, they are important to support. But the process of counseling is a skill which one needs to be given to be able to help you to navigate, to see yourself, the way you ask those questions. That's where now it helps you when you have hidden pains or point of pains which you can't just get from Sekuru talking to you. A counselor will be able to help you dig where you may not want to dig into. That's the benefit. Now, we need to be careful with Uncle Google. He's helpful, but not everything there is accurate, is correct. Also, need to check on your faith issues, what your beliefs are. You pick up anything and everything. So a lot of people who are in deep pain and could not forgive have been guided by Google to kill themselves.
Doc, you were talking about, from a point of us being a praying nation in Zimbabwe. I think the religious analogy that you gave us earlier is very spot on. How would you advise someone who is a practicing Christian? Where do they start in terms of letting go and using the Bible? How do they get to that point where they are able to do so?
Well, a believer is aided with their faith because forgiveness is a command. It's not a suggestion. And again, forgiveness from God's perspective, biblically, you don't wait for the offender to come. However, the practical steps are the same for everyone, believer or non-believer, because the pain is real. So we all need to come to that place where we are helped, as I said earlier, identify where your pain is, number one. Number two, again, process in your mind, if I do not forgive this person and hold on to the opportunity to revenge, or if I'm not able to revenge, but I'm stewing over this for life, for decades, what's happening to my life? What does it take away from me? That's what we look at, because a person who is failing to forgive, there are practical issues that are happening. Some people then cope with the pain through drinking, through drugs.
Doc, I want you to now talk. We're wrapping up now. I want you to talk to someone who is listening to you, who is hurt, and I want you to give them that last piece of advice.
That advice I give is that the forgiving, the decision to start the journey to forgive, and please know that it's a process, is for your benefit. It's good for your physical health. It's good for your spiritual health. It's good for your mental health. It's good for your social relationships. It changes how you relate, it be at home or in the workplace. Now, it doesn't take away the pain. The journey will help you. It will involve loss, because some relationships may never come back. We will work through that loss, the grief of losing a parent that has refused to come to the table because you've chosen to forgive them. So it's important for you to own your own pain. Don't just feel it, but own it.
Doc, time is up for us, but I can tell you this. The key message that I have picked up is that it's important for us to start choosing us. And we don't do that very easy. But Dr. Leonard Makoni, it's been a pleasure to have you on the Ian Show. For anyone who is watching the show, you have got to get this book. We're the first to talk about it.
Thank you.
And this is our first book review on the Ian Show. And it's been a pleasure to have you. I think the topic that you are addressing is so, so important to a lot of people. We walk around with our pain, and it's time we gave it up for a better life.
Absolutely.
Thank you. This is Ian. I'm with Dr. Makoni. And if you want more of this interview, please go on to our YouTube channel where you will find EN Extra. We are also on Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time. This is EN Extra, only available on our YouTube platform. And Doc, so now that it's the extra, we can do a bit of extra talking.
All right.
But for me, one of the questions that I had was, so when we're talking about forgiveness, right? And I totally forgot the question. What was the question? Oh, no, I know the question. And please don't delete this. I know the question. COVID.
Mm-hmm.
COVID came with a blast and totally threw our worlds upside down. How did you deal with people going through, and in your own life, have you gone through a a grieving period where you also had to remind yourself of the things that you're teaching others? Because COVID, we took a pause as the world.
Well, I lost 12 friends within a period of 2 months. I used to call it the 3-day sickness. The first person who died, I'd been with him on the 30th of December, and on the 5th of January, I just received a message, he's gone. So yeah, I carried a lot of grief, but it gave me an opportunity to be of service to many people because of the counseling. A lot of companies could not face their workers, just with the result. So in a good number of cases, I was out there seeing people who were in fear, in anxiety. The result is positive. What does it mean? Then people whose loved ones died. I remember the first one who died among those I had worked with. There was a young man I'd worked with for almost 3 years at a company, and the wellness manager phones me and says he's in hospital. So I contacted the wife. The wife was in hospital because she was pregnant, and because of all that was happening, the pregnancy was getting complicated. And within 2 days, the message came, he's no more. And now the greatest challenge was we could not bury these people. So at times...
You couldn't mourn.
No.
Yeah.
So at times even now, I say, no, they've just gone for a visit. It's difficult to walk through that.
Yeah.
So now that we can travel around, it's important for all of us to visit where you know the graves are, to visit with the families.
And bring it to closure in your own mind.
Way. Each person needs to come to a closure. And with grief, don't say much. Just be there. Literally, just go and sit down. And I tell you, I challenge you, just give yourself 30 seconds. The bereaved will start telling their story.
It's important. What you're talking about is so important. I remember when my brother passed on and someone said to me, Emily, I know how you're feeling. And I looked at that person and I said, hello, this is my grieving process. How do you tell me how I feel?
You are not.
And you're not, your brother's alive. My brother's gone.
If their brother had died, it was their brother.
It was their brother.
My father died 40-some years ago. I can never come and tell you how to grieve over your father because I wasn't his child.
Right.
It was my father. It was your father. Yeah. So one of the challenges we face is that we complicate life. And when there's a loss, this is where we pick up the anger and the places where we then fail to forgive around death situations, not because of the primary death, but what happens after that. The way people come and grab issues, the way people tell you, repress you, suppress you from grief. All those are places where then when you think of the departed, you may realize that I haven't forgiven someone. So grief is very intertwined with forgiveness in that we go through secondary, at times tertiary losses. That is if it's a person. But remember, grief is also where somebody just picks your book and goes with it, picks your phone and goes with it, theft, any loss, relationships, they may not die. All these are places where ultimately the pain of the betrayal becomes anger. Either it takes you to a place of guilt and depression, shame at times, or it leaves you with that anger where you say, I want to revenge. So we hear of revenge mjolos. It's unforgiveness.
But you know what? The example Yenam Boshandi say about the woman who is in the UK, who's working hard. By the way, people who are in the diaspora work 24 hours a day. You're working 24 hours a day. You're sending money home for a stand. Stand yonotengwa. Babo dadaname antiwari mumba. Start a family. Register based on your hard work. And you come home into this realization. My anger will not only be towards my this husband, it will be towards everyone else in the family because people were seeing this.
Someone knew.
Someone knew. And I think that betrayal is even worse than the person who has perpetrated it. So there's a lot that we need to work through, and I think it's a big ask. But what I would really want to see, Doc, in the future is community-based support systems that help, community-based counseling services, because not everyone has access to a counselor. And my worry is that people will say, I have to physically go to a counselor and I have to pay maybe $50 to go and see this person, but I can do it for free. There has to be an option that is more or less or cost effective.
Work has been done, again, the beauty of some of the nuggets that are coming out of Zimbabwe. If you can look up Friendship Bench,
Yes.
which is demystifying counseling, therapy, but also being able to equip anyone and everyone with listening skills.
Yep.
What people are looking for, somebody to listen to them without judging them, without condemning them, without instructing, telling them what to do. And most of us have got the resources to take care of the challenges we face. So that's work which I believe if you will want, we can work through that.
Right.
And I believe this is work which most churches should consider having that Friendship Bench model at every church facility, which then comes to every community. Some people are in workplaces. There's absolutely no reason why in the canteen there's someone who has been equipped through those skills to be able to listen and help people. So you're absolutely right. We need to learn how to support each other in a more effective way than what we are doing now. And the core of it is, of course, to be able to keep confidentiality, but just to listen, not to listen to tell someone what to do, but to listen to allow them to tell their story.
And to understand what they're saying. This has been a pleasure and an honor, Dr. Leonard Makoni, with you on the Ian Show. And we hope to see you soon again. But for everyone who is watching Ian Extra, don't forget, go and look. Where can they get the book? I forgot to ask. Where can they get the book?
Let them contact you.
Okay.
Very soon it will be on Facebook, online.
Inbox, and we'll hook you up to this book. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Dr. Makoni, for joining us on the Ian Show. It has been absolutely a pleasure.
Most welcome. Thank you for the honor.
All right. See you soon.